Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about Upgrade. It's a very small sci-fi movie that snuck into the theaters. I didn't hear much about it until, I don't know, about a week before it came out. Did you?
I had seen the trailers for quite a while and was looking forward to it. I think it looked very interesting just from the trailers.
Wow, it was quite a surprise actually. Talk just a few minutes, spoiler free. General impressions?
They got a lot of bang for their buck with this movie. I mean, you can tell looking at it that it's not a super high budget movie, but the story and the acting is all adequate, but the story is really the key to this movie's success, I think, and hopefully it's successful. I hope it did well.
I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't see too many trailers going into this movie. I knew that it had something to do with altering a human being with technology, so maybe cybernetic implants or something, maybe a little cyberpunk. But I'm not even sure that I saw the trailer. Maybe I might not have, because I did watch the trailer after the movie, and I thought to myself, wow, I did not know going into the movie that it was this high-tech. It ended up being very, very high-tech, sci-fi, heavy sci-fi. And it was getting decent reviews, right? So that's another thing that compelled us to go and see it. It's an interesting trend in movies right now where if a big budget movie is getting high ratings, oftentimes they're not really good. But if an independent or a smaller movie gets high ratings, they usually are pretty good, which is an interesting phenomenon I've been noticing. But
True.
But yeah, I love this movie. I don't even really want to tell you what it's about, except that there is a man and he gets some, cybernetic enhancements, and the story goes crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to get into spoilers a little bit, or just kind of give a basic synopsis.
Well, yeah, so
kind of a spoiler-free man gets an injury. I don't think that's. I mean, if you've seen the trailer, that's in the trailer.
Yeah.
He gets a spinal injury, is paralyzed either completely. I think it's completely paralyzed.
I think quadriplegic. Yeah.
And someone that he kind of knows, almost tangentially knows this guy, who's this, technological genius, runs this company, and who apparently, I guess the guy likes him. Right, or it seems to be the guy really likes him, so he comes to him with this offer: "Hey, I can, give you your body back. Basically, I can give you control of your body back." And it really goes from there. And of course, the reason that he's injured and the motivation for that character is his wife, and that's also in the trailer, so that's not really spoilery. His wife gets murdered. And
4 guys murdered my wife.
He kind of it's kind of a revenge movie. It basically is a revenge movie, and he goes through the process, gets this thing implanted, and he gets his movement back, but then realizes there's more to the implant than just getting his movement back. It's basically an AI.
Right.
And it starts helping him on his revenge kick. And that's enough, basically.
That's pretty much all you need to know right there.
It helps him a lot, like physically too. He's very, very good at hurting people suddenly. So.
Well, with like robotic, artificial intelligence precision.
Right.
Rather than the follies of human beings and the movements that we have that are not so much calculated. They're just we kind of feel our way around.
There's a lot of anticipation of what someone's going to do, and
Yeah, the AI is running the calculations.
It's not even karate. It's like robot karate, almost.
Here's another spoiler-free thing that I think is really interesting is this actor. He did such a great job with that role. His name was Logan Marshall Green.
Yep.
And what's interesting is basically the AI at times he takes over his body and is controlling his body. And so when he gets into a fight, especially early on, when we first start to realize that he is now ambulatory, with the help of this implant, the implant, the AI takes over and it's fighting for him. So it's very precise movements and like you said, calculating and trying to anticipate the moves of the enemy that he's fighting with. But the whole time, the actor's face. So to be able to do these moves and have the actor's face, he portrayed surprise at the movements that he was doing, or that the AI was making him do.
Is that he's completely out of control and just watching it all happen.
Right, he's watching.
And shocked at what he's doing and kind of horrified sometimes.
When you think of the logistics of that, though, that he has to, as the actor, he has to make his body do what the AI is supposed to be having him do, but his face has to tell a totally different story. Mm-hmm. And that was amazing that he was able to make his body do one thing and his face represents something else. So it was
Good
really
job.
fun. And I think that it instilled a lot of humor, because through him, we're sort of watching him through, as he's watching what he's doing, that the AI is making him do. And he's surprised by it, and so it kind of creates a natural humor in certain parts where you're like, wow.
He's the audience.
Right.
The eyes of the audience are the main character. He's completely shocked by it as much as we are, except we saw the trailer, so we kind of know what's going on. Or I did anyway.
You did. Yeah, you did.
Sort of on a little sidetrack, kind of reminds me of the trailer for Venom. Have you seen that yet?
I did, yeah.
It's a similar thing where he gets this. It's in Venom. It's this symbiotic suit alien
that
thing
has its own intelligence.
That has its own intelligence and kind of takes him over and just starts messing people up. And he's like, no. You know, it's kind of similar. So maybe maybe it was just a coincidence. You know how Hollywood does that sometimes. But this is a kind of a superhero movie. Origins movie, maybe a villain origins movie, hero origins movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you look at superhero movies, they always like to show, I mean, some of them show where they came from and how they got his powers, and he definitely has powers that are far beyond any human beings.
Right.
It's more about the precision of his movements and being able to anticipate things and sort of have access to, the internet and computer technology.
It's also that huge access to the world that is changed by technology that the AI called STEM.
STEM, right.
Is able to, I think that was their original title for the movie too.
I wish we had more superheroes like this. And the reason why this could be such a great superhero, if they were to continue it, is because most superheroes, they just develop a suit that makes them super tough so that we all become Superman, or everybody can punch and kick. But this, they're like Venom, there's an intelligence there that is doing problem solving, that is communicating with other vehicles and computers in the world, and interacting with the world.
He's not a superhero, which makes it more interesting.
Right.
He's not invulnerable. He's only able to access this vast, kind of power of the computer. Right. Basically. So.
For what he can control, right? Because you have the AI in him, and the AI has, it's intelligent, and then him, and that's interesting.
Spoilers.
Right. Let's talk spoilers now.
You want to grade first and then move on, or? I think we both liked it. We don't need to.
I really liked it.
Specific.
Let's talk about our spoilers and see if there's anything good or bad that we can bring up. Maybe that'll.
What did you not like?
Influence our grade.
So we're into spoilers.
Yeah. Now? So let's talk spoilers. So if you haven't seen it,
spoilers.
It's hard to pick what I didn't like because I loved so much of this movie. Let's talk about what we did like, because there's a few things that are itching me to talk about. So I haven't seen a movie take the language of cinema and camera movement and the visuals, sound and everything, and mix it together in a way that's exhilarating as you're watching it. Fun, exhilarating, funny, scary, all of it.
Yeah.
probably since something like The Matrix. The Matrix gave you a visual experience along with a really interesting
I think we're
world.
so used to it now that it's kind of, people see these things like the some of the camera moves where the guy is on a rig and it's all, all the rig is CGI'd out, but whatever he's doing, the camera is right there moving along. And it puts you in that frame of mind where it's like, there's this precision there where he pops up and the camera just goes along with him, and
like him and the camera are both
really
on a rig.
clever filmmaking. Yeah,
and as he goes up, the camera must go up.
They don't use that the whole time, but then there's some shots where the camera's behind him and its movement is, kind of like almost video game like.
Yeah.
Mimicking his, the camera's movement is mimicking his movement. And that's a part of what you're talking about. I don't know if that's the entire thing.
That's it. They did a lot of different camera type movements and sound. There was an interesting sound that was generated because his special movements were all a result of the AI that was in his head, the AI chip. So there was this sound that I kept noticing every time he would do a movement that sort of seemed to defy physics, right? Or defy what a normal human being could do because the AI is taking control. And there was a sound effect that was playing with it. And it was subtle, but it was there.
I didn't get it.
Oh,
what was it?
I don't.
Or maybe I just don't remember.
It was sort of like a hum, kind of like a zoom. I mean, it was hard to explain. You have to, if you watch it again, if you pay attention to the sound, you'll hear these.
Definitely, we'll see it again.
Yeah, you'll hear these sound effects as the camera's doing these special movements to his special movements controlled by the AI. So when you put in visuals that you've not seen as regularly before, and the sound effect in context with a really good story and reasons why things are happening, I just remember I was like, it was spine tingling to watch a lot of the moments in the movie.
So here's maybe a thing you don't like. I can help you out with.
Okay.
The character and his kind of like anti-technology viewpoint.
Well, so yeah, that's how the movie starts. It starts off.
I mean, that's his kind of his arc. But did that seem a little cliched or?
Yes, because we're far in the future. Everybody.
Right.
So in this movie, everybody's in self-driving cars.
Yeah, we're not that far in the future, but
enough that we have self-driving cars.
Self-driving cars.
There are drones monitoring everything.
Drones everywhere for the police.
Guys have guns implanted in their wrist.
I love that.
So they load the bullet, and there's a hole there in their wrist.
Like a shotgun in the wrist, and
I mean, it was almost comical, but it made sense, and it was fun to watch. One of the bad guys walks up as the other bad guys, monologuing or whatever, and he just starts loading while the other guy's talking.
Yeah. They're walking together, and he's
it's
loading
just funny because you hear all the gun sound,
Yeah.
The loading of the gun sounds in his arm. I'm not
Like
sure
a
it
shotgun
made
being
that
loaded.
much noise with all the flesh there, but it would make a little bit, I'm sure. But it was a funny little moment, but it made sense with the context.
It's a silly idea, but it works.
Yeah,
it works in this movie, and yeah, I as far as things I really didn't like, I don't think I have anything. There's little things. Some of the sets and the looks of the sets seemed, I don't know, just the feel of the sets in places kind of seemed, I don't want to say cheap, but the places he went, obviously he went to some really gritty, crummy places. Yeah. And then there's places he went where they were,
very
really
lavish.
high tech and lavish. And I think those lavish sets didn't work for me 100%.
It was too much of a contrast too.
The guy who gives him the implant in his place, and his entrance is just stairs that go down in between these two, monolith-like stones. I thought that was interesting but kind of silly.
I think they were trying to show
for a movie that's like that gritty and wild. And the guy was just sort of he sort of ends up being one of the villains. He's not really the main villain. Obviously, we're in spoilers.
Right.
Now, the main villain is STEM. Or it becomes STEM. Right. But yeah, I thought his place was a little bit over the top as far as the set design. And his character was just kind of by himself. Did he have anyone? with him. He was just sort of by himself.
He was just by himself.
And kind of helpless when our main character finally goes and confronts him, driven by STEM.
I think
so that was kind of weak. I thought the ending in that way was could have been better.
So there's actually 3 antagonists in this movie, if you think about it. So you have STEM,
main antagonist,
the AI in his head,
right?
Who you don't realize until the end of the movie. So don't listen to this if you don't want to hear. This is the twist in the end. But STEM fully fights him and wants control of his body. STEM actually wants a body,
right?
So it can go out and experience the world, kind of like Ex Machina. This movie is very much like Ex Machina and RoboCop, kind of.
It's a high-tech version of a lot of other movies too. Yeah. Hereditary, where it's about kind of possession.
Yeah.
It's a high-tech sort of possession movie.
But so you have
mixed in with all these other cool things.
Right. So you have the AI is an antagonist that he ends up fighting for, and at first it's sort of a mentor, right? Like it's sort of teaching him what he can do, and it's trying to trick him into getting another hacker to hack his system so that so that the AI has autonomy and can do what it wants. So under the pretense that it's going to help him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But really, it's doing that because it wants control. In a way, it feels like like HAL,
Sure.
In that it's trying to control things, and it's trying to be clever about how it does that, right?
HAL is your friend.
HAL is your friend, and
he's there to help. He controls the ship.
Right.
It's a similar thing, right?
Yeah, STEM was there to help him, and then the other antagonist, as you said, is the guy who developed STEM.
All right.
He's sort of the antagonist, or we think he's the antagonist. We think that character that developed STEM is in control, and of course, in the end, you find out that STEM already manipulated him to cripple the guy into a quadriplegic to begin with. Oh, and his wife just happened to be there, so they just took her out. Right. That might be a little flaw. If she had died sort of accidentally as a result, rather than just the guy's killing, because the bad guy, the henchman. So these are the other antagonists in the film. So there's a leader of the henchmen,
who I liked.
He was great.
He was really good.
He was really good. Yeah. There were probably just 2 things that I can think of off the top of my head that did bug me about him, and it's just that he killed the wife, and his explanation later was that it was just a bonus. We got extra pay or something for it. I was like, well, how does that really? Why? I mean, wouldn't you get scolded for killing, her? I don't know. It just didn't work. I wish she had died as a result of them trying to get him. Then that would have more justified it, rather than just say, we're bad guys, so we're going to kill the wife for nothing.
If he sort of had to pay for that somehow, like the main villain guy who inserted the chip in him was angry and upset with that.
Yes.
And did something to him, or although that guy was more of a victim than a villain, really. The tech genius guy, he was almost more of a victim and was kind of just drawn along by this all.
Oh, the one who developed STEM to begin with?
Right, the one who developed the STEM.
Well, yeah, STEM got out of control.
He was just sort of like doing what he was told to do at that point.
Right, because his life was probably in danger at some point. So the second thing that one antagonist did that bugged me, it was just that. So the level of technology in the film was really high, but the rest of the world was only so high. Like they weren't quite at the level of the STEM and everything else that guy was developing. But they had drones that were everywhere, and self-driving cars, and you would imagine some other technologies. Because the cops were very surprised when they found the henchman's dead body, and they were pulling out all these cybernetics. They were really surprised, right? Like, so this isn't a common thing.
Right.
And it was the one technology that the leader of the henchmen had, and it was he would breathe or sneeze on somebody, and these little barbed killing devices in the breath would come out, go into the air ducts, and
microscopic dart-like things that.
They were like little self-guided missile-y things. I mean, it was just it was like, whoa! Now we just jumped like another 200 or 300 years into the future or something here with this technology. Because also, if he had that level of technology, there were plenty of other opportunities in the movie to use it. And it wasn't. It was just used once, and then he threatened somebody with it.
Well, he mentions it later that I could just kill you right now with a breath, but I don't want to do that. You know, when they're talking back and forth.
Well, that's what made that character interesting too. He just didn't want to kill the guy. He wanted the guy to sort of join him, almost like the X-Men mutants. Like, we're different. We're better than everybody else now.
Right.
Let's we could really control things if we could. Get together and organize and whatnot. So he had some motivations, which was nice, rather than just, I'm just going to go out and kill, like he did the wife when he shouldn't have. Or at least they maybe find a better justification for it. But yeah, in general, I loved it. The story is very complicated. I mean, not so complicated, but intricate in the way it's woven together back and forth.
Yeah, and the world building too is very. You remember the scene where I laughed out loud when they dragged the guy into the bathroom, and there's shell casings all over the floor of the bathroom, bullet casings everywhere. It's like, what the hell happened in there? What's been going on? It's just like, no, that's the way this place is. It's like almost like sawdust on the floor, right? Bullet casings everywhere, and that's just part of the world. Like, there's this gritty side, horrible, dark side, and then there's these power elite kind of people who are more controlling the world, and a cyberpunk, basically. Well, big corporations,
the world building,
gritty underbelly.
Right, the world building, the sci-fi elements, the camera work. The editing and the sound design afterwards, the special effects. I don't know exactly what the budget was on this, but they did a really great job with a small sci-fi movie. Oh, here you go. Budget $3 to $5 million, at least on Wikipedia is what it says, and 9.2 at the box office. So that's that's good, and that's or it's still early. Could still see some more numbers going up, but yeah, $3 to $5 million, and to create such a rich world. With that felt rich.
It felt, the main character felt like a real guy. His wife is murdered and he's paralyzed, and his mother is there helping him. How often do you see that in a movie where the main character's kind of a tough guy, or at least he becomes sort of a hero, but his mother's there taking care of him because she's completely crippled,
he's a quadriplegic,
and he has nobody else in his life.
I forgot about the mother.
Yeah, that was one of the things that kind of struck me about it. That the guy's like a real guy. His mother cares about him, is there, putting up with his horrible, depression and sadness at all of his loss and dealing with that. Would have been nice to know a little more about her and maybe some of the other characters. They're all kind of brushed over, except for the main character, but at least the main character is really, I thought, was pretty well fleshed out, even though a little cliched.
Well, yeah, you asked me earlier about the main character's cliche that he doesn't like technology in a world where
he's a guy who fixes old cars for people.
Old cars,
and he's got a fast car, that's got a big engine, and everyone's driving these little Prius type things around.
Yeah, self-driving.
So
yeah, that was a little cliche. I mean,
it works though.
It works because the rest of the story and the action elements are in support of the story. Mm-hmm. It really it's sort of it doesn't even matter. Like, I'm not even sure why they included this fact that he doesn't like high technology and he just likes working on old cars. Like, it doesn't even really play into the story at some point later. Well,
it's his connection with the developer, is that he works on a car for the developer, and that's
a plot device.
That's how he gets to know him.
The developer is super wealthy and wants an old car.
How Stim gets to know him through
So it works. It works.
Yeah, it's fine.
It'd just been interesting if there was some. If there was something later in the film where being low tech was a benefit, like maybe trying to take control of his car or something, and they couldn't do it because he was driving the old car. I mean, we've seen that in other movies a little bit, where the low-tech person can't be affected by the high technology.
I want to say there was actually a reference to the car not being digital. And when they were doing during the chase somewhere, I don't remember exactly.
So maybe it was.
But I think he was talking to Stim and asking, he's like, hey, can you do something? And Stim had to kind of give him control of the car.
Right,
because it couldn't take over digitally. They're in his older car. And, you know, the cop car also wasn't digital.
Right.
It wasn't connected to the grid or whatever. So it was that at that moment where his driving prowess kicked back in, and Stim had to back off and let him do some of the action, right? Mm-hmm. When the cops were chasing him, and then Stim goes, all right, what can I do? Take control of another car,
right,
and crash it into the cop car,
right,
which was really goddamn clever, honestly.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of little nuances in this movie that struck me anyway as that's really, really well thought out and clever.
Yeah. It was, when you mix the AI and the AI's ability to control, you know, other technologies it starts to get scary, which is what, you know, some people, you know, are worried about. Some very smart people in the world are worried about, you know, AI getting out of control like this, and you know, the AI getting out of the box, as they say, right?
People have always been worried about technology, and I remember Blue Thunder. When that movie came out, people were like, "Oh yeah, that's coming. All that surveillance and stuff." You had no idea where we're at now. Oh my God.
So yeah, let's wrap this up and give our letter grades. Do you want me to go first, or do you
go
want
ahead.
So I'm not even, you know, they're just a few little nitpicks, and I mean they're small. I say, oh, this is a problem, but really it's a really small problem. Such a clever story, obviously in a genre that I love when it's done really well like this. I think I have to give this movie an A-. I'm not even quite sure. It was so good. There's just a few things that would have knocked it up. Almost a perfect movie, but it was damn near close.
There's a few cliches and a few things that are just left open specifically about the other characters, and I'd like to know how Stim was controlling the developer.
Yeah, they just gloss over that at the end.
It's sort of like, well, it's a chip. So from that chip, can it like reach out and control everything? I guess there was no really explanation for how. And at the end, it was the developer said, "Hey, Stim caused all of this. He wanted you. He wanted your body.
He forced me to do it.
He basically forced me."
It would have been what he did to force him.
Yeah, how?
Like
little things like that, right? That you kind of don't really need, but would have been nice. I'm with you, an A-. This is one of the really good movies of the year so far, and we've had nearly maybe half a dozen movies that have kind of blown me away this year.
Yeah, this one definitely did that.
This lands really high on my list.
I wish movies like this would get more publicity. I wish the studios would recognize how good they are. Really push a marketing campaign.
It's a bad time right now because, you know, we just had all these releases solo and all these superhero, you know, Marvel movies that have come out.
They could have marketed this as a superhero movie because it kind of is.
I think the trailer was I don't want to say misleading, because misleading would make you go see it more. It was sort of downplayed.
It was.
Where I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh wow, they're showing skylines and stuff. I'm like, oh, why wasn't that in the trailer? Maybe it wasn't completed yet, CGI or whatever, but... And some of the technologies and things, they just kind of downplayed it, which is kind of nice. They didn't let too much loose.
Well, that's what you hate about trailers, right? Is when trailer reveals too much. So A- from both of us. That's awesome. If you haven't seen Upgrade, definitely check it out.
It's worth a look.